So welcome to this quick start video. In this video, we're going to learn to do a pop-up window inside of WPF. And I'm assuming you know a little bit about C#, a bit about Visual Studio, not much because you'll see everything I'm doing in the video, but it won't be where I'm slowing down too much. So let's go ahead and get started on making our first pop-up window in Visual Studio and WPF and C#. So here I am right now in Visual Studio. I have the welcome window open and I'm going to go here and create a new project. And instead of filtering through C# Windows and desktop, I'm going to go here in the search bar and type WPF. And I can hit enter there and I can select this first result here, WPF application, C# Windows desktop. I'm going to select that and I can go next, or I can just double click on this. It'll do the same thing. So I'll go next here. Then we'll go ahead and name our project. My pop-up window. We're only going to make one. Select the location where you want to save it. Try to remember where that is. And then go ahead and place solution and project in the same directory. If that's not already selected, make sure it's selected. Then go ahead and click next. And you'll get this option here for your framework. Choose .NET 8.0. That's what we'll be working in. Hit create. All right, so we'll get started on first creating our first window. We're going to set up our first window. Over my window itself, I'm going to hold down the control button on my keyboard, and I'm going to use my middle mouse button to scroll in and out. That's how I can zoom to get it to the size I want. If I want to pan around, I can hold down the space bar, and you'll see this little hand come up, and then I can use the left mouse button to pan it left and right, up and down, so on and so forth. Over here, you can see we already have a window open, so we're going to work on this first. I'm going to go ahead and grab a button over here and drag it inside of my view. Resize it to the size I want, and the first thing I need to do, like always, is name this button. So I'm going to call this BTN, and we can call that Open Pop-Up. Now that I have that, I can go ahead and change the label in here. A couple of ways we can change the label. I can select slowly inside of that button, not too fast. A fast double click is something else. Do not do that. That will create a function. We'll do that later. But slow double click will get us to edit the text on the inside. But if you don't want to take that chance, you can select on the button, go down here inside of the XAML, and you can see the XAML here where it says content. You can go ahead and change that, and that will change the content of the button. Another way to do it is with the button selected, you'll see the button's properties over here in the properties window, and you can go down here to the common area and then into the content, and you can change it there. So whichever one you choose to use one of them, and we will go ahead and name that Open Pop-Up. And of course, we should understand the difference between that label and the button name up here. The button name is the name that we'll be using in the code, and the label is just what the user sees. So, okay, so we have this ready. We can go ahead and double click on this button. Now, all we're going to be doing here is we're going to be priming this area. We're not going to finish the code here. We're just priming this window with everything that we can before we move on to the next window, which means we're going to leave a spot to be able to add more code later when we're done with the other window. So let's go ahead and in this pop-up, we're going to add a little note here. That comment, we're going to put basically not a note, but a comment. We're going to put here, create an instance of the pop-up window and show it. So we'll say create an instance of the pop-up and show it. Something like that. And we're going to actually add that code in later, but that is actually a note for us to do. Now, to be sure that we do this, we can do something like this. We can say to do. Now, why would I do that? Well, because there is a little menu inside of Visual Studio called the to-do menu. If you don't see it, go to the view, and then you can go all the way down to task list. When I click on that, you will see there is this to do here. create an instance of the pop-up window, and it tells me where that to-do is. So imagine if I had 1,000 pieces of code and different windows open. I can always go to do, and if I had a team member who I needed to do that, I can just right after that put Malik. So whenever I see the ones that have to do with my name, I can go ahead and double click on it, and all of us right away, my cursor goes to that spot. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and save that. And we're going to now go to creating our pop-up window that we're going to make this button pop up. So over here in our solution, we're going to click over our project, right click on it, go to add and new. We can add a new item here, or we can just go down to the preset items, and we're going to use the window WPF. I'm going to click on that. It's already selected here. And we're just going to name this window something very simple but obvious. We're going to call this pop-up example. We could just call this pop-up, actually. I'm going to call it pop-up window. And I'm going to hit add. So here's our pop-up window. Now, the only thing we want in this pop-up window is a button to close it. So again, I go ahead and add my button here. I can resize this button so it's a little bit bigger. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And the first thing we do, as always, is while this button's selected, I'm going to go here inside of the name, and I'm going to name this BTN Close Pop-Up. Okay. Now I have that. And again, with the label, I'm going to go down to the common area inside of the content, and I'm going to click, I'm going to type close pop-up. And there we have it. Now, this is the easiest one to do. So I'm going to go inside of this button, double click. Now I have my close pop-up menu here. Function. And then I'm going to add my comment of exactly what we're going to do with this button. And we are going to close the pop-up. And since we're here, we might as well go ahead and finish this code, which is the simplest code. This dot close is the code that closes this pop-up. This meaning this function, this class, and this class is what? Pop-up window, the name that we gave it. And what type of class is this inheriting from? Is inheriting from the window class, which makes pop-up an actual window itself. So that's what you need to know when we're adding this close, this class close. So no matter where this is, it will close it. So it's referencing itself. Now, I want to show you something really quick. So I'm going to open up the pop-up tab again. And I want to show you now with my to-do down here, I'm going to double click on that. And look, it sends us all the way back to where we want it to be without me having to close and click and all that kind of stuff. So that's the advantage of having that to-do list there. Now I can basically, when I'm done with the to-do, I can get rid of that. But for now, let's go ahead and type the code that belongs in this spot here. Here, we're going to go ahead and instantiate a version of this right here, popupwindow.xaml. So we type the name because that's the type, pop-up window. Remember, that's the type. And then we give it a name. That's the name I'm giving it. And then we're going to create an object equals new pop-up window. Now, again, this is simple. I just say popup.show, and that's how it's going to show the window itself. So you can see I created this variable. That variable is a pop-up window type, and then we created a new pop-up window type and put it inside of that variable. Then we use this variable to call that function show, just like we call the other function to hide or to close. All right, this should do it. So I'm going to hit F5 on my keyboard. So here's my window. It pop up, and there's the pop-up window. Now let's see it close, and it closes. And that's how you create a pop-up window in WPF. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and share this video if you can. And I'll see you guys next time.